Hello, welcome to the Daily Loop. Right, let's get into it. It's the last day of the season, so we did our season roundup video yesterday because we didn't think we'd have time today. So we got some bids here. Right, I think we were talking about we would just sell this guy probably, so let's just do it now because we've got a bid. It makes that decision easy. And then whoop. This one less so. I think we need to sign because this guy's not very good. He's only borderline, to be honest, better than the he's not a lot better than the graduates we'll have coming, and he'll be, when they're 16 he'll be 23. And these guys are next season at least on low wages. This guy will end up retiring anyway. I think this guy we just got to hold for now until we get the actual. We need the replacement first, I think. I'm not sure. I mean, the other question is, we'll come back around. Maybe we will. I don't know. The thing is, it's not like, what are you doing? You're selling him because you got a bid, so you can get an extra 2k or 3k or whatever. I'm not sure that that's the determining factor for selling this guy. I think we need to have an idea. Like I think we just need to hold on for now. We'll hold on to him for now. And then the last one is probably this is obviously a lot of money for us, especially. One thing we have to check. I think finances projection, dividend threshold. All right, so we won't go over that if we sell him. Not even close. So yeah, I was just checking if selling him on the last day would cause us to go over the dividend threshold, because then we'd have to factor that into the decision. Well, then we'd have to go back and look, I guess, if we would buy anybody to take the, to use some of the cash or whatever. It'd be more complicated, the decision. But for now, that complication doesn't exist. So I think it's a tough one. I think he doesn't have crazy wages, right? So, and he's still got some ceiling here. Like, he still should progress next season, something at least. Let's have a look at this finishing progression. That. Okay, so it still went up. What did it go up by? 3 points. Probably the speed is. Alright, so let's. We do use this guy a lot. We're talking about this in the season roundup. We use him a lot. Obviously, he's not. Well, he starts quite a lot. But if everybody's fit at the moment, he comes off the bench. But he does start quite a lot because obviously everybody isn't fit all the time. At the moment, without how our team is set up, he will start instead of the striker if the striker is injured, but also if the AMC is injured at the moment, he would play 2 strikers instead. So, and if he's on the bench, he does come on like literally every game as well. It's a lot of money for us. That's why I'm considering this. So if we don't sell him, what does that mean? It means that what is it? Nearly 4 million. So the reason why I'm looking if he's still going to progress a bit is so that if I could get some kind of an idea about if we get another transfer bid next season at some point. Let's say it's towards the end of the season. Is it likely to still be around 4 million? Is it likely to be less? Is it likely to be more? Just trying to get a bit of an idea on that. It's hard to say, to be honest, but I think looking at it, there's enough of a difference between where he's at and his skill ceiling, the ceiling value, that he should still progress, which should sort of mean that hopefully if we do get a bid next season that it probably won't be less than this. It may not be a lot more, but hopefully it won't be less, which kind of means what we're losing out on, and it might be more. So I would say it's reasonable to sort of say that probably it would be the difference between the value of now and the next bid should be probably at least the wages that we would be paying in the meantime, because his wage isn't that high. So we're not losing out waiting, I guess is what I'm saying. So the question is just, do we need the money now, or do we need the player now? And I think we need the player now. We don't need the money now because we've got... it would be different if we didn't have any money, but we do have other money. We have like 11 million. Next season our income will go up, so this projection chart will flip up around the other way basically. So we'll have money to start the season anyway. Obviously no more cash injections, so that'd be it, like 11 for the whole season. So it is a tough choice, I'd have to say this is. But I think we're not going to sell him. I think we're just going to hold him because I don't know, because at the end of the day he delivers for us, I guess is the way to put it. Like, he's a proven quantity. We know how to fit him into our tactic. We know his strengths and weaknesses, sort of thing. We know how to get the most. He's quite limited with this 50 finishing and whatnot, and I feel like we've managed to find a way in our tactics and stuff to have this guy be efficient still. So I think we are just going to keep him. I think if, for example, say we didn't have like because the question really is are we really next season going to want to try and push to get one of these specialist players we need from the auctions list? So if we look in the auctions, to these guys, it's possible we find our guy for like 6 million, 7 million. I'm not saying we do, by the way. I'm just saying it's in the realms of possibility that we do. Just quickly scanning just to get an idea. Yeah, so I think it's in the realms that we do 7, 8, 9. So basically we blow our entire transfer budget just about to get that guy. would that make sense at this point? I don't think that would make sense anyway, quite frankly, because I think we're still better off just picking up guys like this guy, just waiting for guys that are just good deals, effectively. I think we're better off just getting a whole bunch of really good deals instead. So I don't think we would do it anyway. So I think with that in mind, well, this is probably the example of a good deal, right? Because we paid like 1.866, so we just want to really get like really young guys that we know will give loads of games, that we know are just really good, I don't know, really good players as sort of cheap-ish for what they are, just kind of guys we've just been getting recently when we've been super picky, just younger, really good attributes for the position or whatever. Try to get ones with a good ceiling over where they're at, and try to have the room for growth. Try to not have too crazy wages. Try to buy players that will help us a lot now and in the future. Try to, and the thing is, there's overlap here, pretty much. If we're buying a player that can start for us now, help us now, but we also know that would still be useful for us when we're in Division 1 of the Masters League, and we can get that player on low wages and cheapish, that's probably all the boxes are ticked then in order for him to, for that player to have a lot higher value in the future as well. So there's overlap. Anyway, so we won't accept it. Let's go look at the scouted players just in case all of a sudden there is a player in here that all of a sudden like, okay, well, we'll accept it because we want this guy. Because I think the thing is, if we just find a better striker, then that might be a reason. Oh man, okay, so this keeper's like pretty damn good. Big ceiling over where he's at. Man, okay, he's pretty good. So he's got the good shot stopping but low parrying, good agility, low handling. Our keeper's got better shot stopping. I think we will go with our keeper just because I don't know if he's better as such, but this other guy's expensive and has higher wages as well. So I think we'll stick with what we got. This guy just not good enough. We just got all these DCs coming in now from our trial probably, so let's do it the other way around. We said we'd do it the other way around from now on because it impacts these decisions. Let's quickly check the trial. We know what we got here, so let's just check what we are. 4 speed, I think probably just pass because the other centre halves we got, not good enough, not good enough. Some weird sort of player, to be honest. It's like all of these 1s and 2s and 5s and stuff, but then he's got like 54 finishing, 47 composure, 56 speed, but 1 passing, 6 vision, 8 long shots, like 6 flair, 5 determination, 7 endurance, 5 strength. Pretty funny one. It's an interesting one because he would be I think if, I don't know what would need to be different, but a player like this is super interesting if, for example, it is all kind of like 1s and 60s, but all the stuff that you care about is 60 and everything else is 1. It's just like a really interesting thing conceptually. It's about the closest I've ever seen to that, to be honest. And the thing is, as a poacher, he's not bad, like, because he's got good control, he's got decent movement, finishing composure. I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it? I don't know, if the determination was 60, would we take a punt on this guy? I don't know. Because the interesting thing about a player like this is that he could end up with like, maybe like 80 speed, 80 finishing, 70 composure, 70 movement type of thing, 70 control, and have really low wages. That's the interesting thing about this player. Anyway, I think we're going to pass because I just think it's not quite. It's just interesting, but I think we'll pass. Because ultimately, I guess we're just comparing him to this guy. He's got 60 finishing. This guy's just better, obviously. So, right. Don't use left back. Not as good. 5 speed. Interesting. I don't know. I would compare him to the DCs we've got. I think that low determination means that he's only going to be compared to this one, and then this one has like 55 tackling, 59 marking, 57 aerial ability, 44. Like I think the other guy is just a bit better. This guy doesn't have marking. A decent last day pickup though, if we didn't have any DCs in, I have to say. Another interesting one, to be honest, because he's got 60 finishing, 50 composure, which is interesting. It's a similar thing to this guy, but I think this guy's just better because he's got 60 aerial ability plus 54 speed, whereas this guy, I think he was good in the air but not as fast. Yeah, so I think the other guy is better, but yeah, interesting. Right, this guy just not as good as the MC we got, not as good as the keeper we got. Don't use left winger. I think not as good as the keeper we got. I think in particular just that 25 determination when we gave up another keeper that was like better than this guy because of the low determination versus this guy's 59. Don't use AMR. Not as good as the DCs. I think not as good as the MC we got. So there was no change here. But let's go back to the scouter players. Yeah, so just compared to the DCs, I mean, interesting. This is another one on the list here with 54 finishing, 53 long shots, 54 composure, 57 movement. To be honest, we could buy this guy to make a striker as well. Yeah, so I don't know about this guy. I think there are a couple things to consider. So one, that his ceiling isn't particularly high at all for a player that age. So let's just sort by age here. So like it's not the lowest it can be, but it's not particularly high. That's all. So that's one consideration. Another consideration is he's already had the full set of attribute boosts applied, unlike unlike the one we've got coming in. The DC, I mean, that we have coming in that could also play striker. Let's just have a quick look. So he's a 39 overall, and he's like 54 in speed, 54 in finishing. There are some key differences here. That's why I'm mulling over it. This guy, he's 17. Okay, let's just figure it out. I was thinking he was 16. Okay, so he's had 2 sets of attribute boosts applied. Okay, let's not worry about it. Let's just go with that guy. Okay, the one we go on. This guy's sort of more interesting in a way because if he was 16 anyway, because he also has the marking and the tackling and stuff as well, right? So if he was a DC striker, he could play both, which would be super useful tactically speaking. It would be super useful to be like have him up front. Okay, whatever, want to close out the match, defend the lead, whatever, bring him back to centre half or have him in centre half. We need to score a goal, push him up. Like the ability to just move a player like that from centre half to striker could be very, very useful tactically, but I just don't think he's quite. I don't think he's quite there. I don't know. It's so close. I think the thing is as well, like how many players do you want? How many central defenders do you want that you've got to add a striker position to? I think the answer to that is 0. So having 2 of them isn't ideal either. I don't know, very interesting player though, isn't he? Because he's sort of got, if you look at it, flip it around, like the central defender attributes is like, yeah, the aerial ability not quite there, but it's like has the speed, has the tackling, has the position. Like he has sort of everything really for DC except the aerial ability, which is acceptable. And then flip it around for a striker, he's got like finishing, movement, composure, long shots, fast enough, movement. I don't know, he's kind of got everything for both. It's pretty rare you'd see something like that. And then outside of that, he's still got pretty decent dribbling, still pretty decent passing, good vision, pretty decent dribbling, decent flair. Yeah, just such a unique player. Honestly, I don't know. It's the thing, like, I guess part of the problem with this is that we don't really need, for our youth team, they're the two positions we don't really need. It's very well rounded though. Yeah, he's not, doesn't have what we need for the AMC role because he doesn't have the strength. We need more pass, like other attributes become important. Basically, the ones that he doesn't have: the passing, the strength, the dribbling, the flair. That all becomes more important all of a sudden. The control, all of his low stuff. Which is fair enough. I mean, whatever. So what? He's like, how many positions is a 17-year-old supposed to be that sort of well suited to? Very, very interesting prospect. I think, I don't know, we have to consider that, like I said, the positions are a consideration. The thing is, there's no urgency to have to add the striker position to this guy, because he could just play DC, but the problem is that, well, he would be 18. So it would be ideal in regards to so this guy would move out. This guy would become 20. We'd have another guy that's 18. We'd have a couple guys that are 16. This guy's 1 year older, and he's like in the 70s. I think this is the thing. Like, have we got a 18-year-old anywhere? Yeah, but we know that this guy's behind where he needs to be. Very interesting. Oh, sigh, gosh. Thing is, like, in the end, it's very well placed to be able to be both, but this ceiling as well, combined with the fact that he's quite high now, right? For example, this player has way more room to grow. Not that we will want him necessarily. I'm just saying, like, there's huge difference here, right? It's like 7, 20. What is it? 17. Oh my god, I'm not fully awake. 27, right? 27 attribute points difference. Whereas this guy is 19, right? Huge difference. Alright, well, let's look through the rest. Just too low tackling. I think just not quite there for 20 years old. Not good enough for 22 years old. Too old for us. Don't use right back. I think just not good enough pass. We want the playmaker for that role. He's not good enough for that. Not good enough. So at this point, we know, for example, that we're not graduating a DMC. So unlike this central defender that we were talking about could also play striker, this guy, for example, has quite a bit more scope to grow, right? Because he's 66 ceiling instead of 62, plus his 2 points less at the moment. In regards to the playmaker, and this is the thing, he's not where he needs to be. But pretty low wages, relatively speaking. And he does... It's sort of just going back to that sort of conversation about before, once we know what graduates we got, we know, for example, like any other graduates waiting a whole season, may not be a DMC again. So at this point, if we want to move towards playing the same tactic as a senior team, we need a DMC. Even if we don't, we are using a DMC anyway, which is this guy. Now, so then the question becomes, is he an upgrade on this guy? I think the answer is yes. Different player, but I think he is an upgrade. We could consider that guy. I think just because he will just go straight into the youth team, he will play. I guess. Okay, so this guy's got a lower ceiling. Got a lot of super low attributes. The control's a bit off-putting. The super high determination is great. Because you've got to consider this guy's 2 years older. That's the thing. And this guy's also got lower determination. He's got like really high crossing and movement and stuff, which isn't great. And we also don't really care about the high work rate. All of his really high stuff, well, the vision we care. I don't know. Let's just keep looking. So this guy... just not good enough. Again, we want the passing and vision, not necessarily a lightning fast one. This guy, we don't use those positions. Yeah, he's just not good enough for us. We'd have to add a position, and considering that he's not good enough. Same as that guy. Right, so he's got high passing and vision for a 16-year-old. He's slow, decent determination, good aerial ability, good crossing, which we don't really care about. I think the issue with this guy is effectively the speed is a bit of an issue, but whatever, we could live with that. The bigger issue with this guy really is just this combination of like 12 long shots and not particularly good finishing and composure and bad dribbling. So you're saying, he's not really, we don't really want him going forwards, so we want him to be more defensive player, and he's got 14 tackling, so he's not really, can't really be a I guess we just need a central midfielder to do more than just simply pass the ball and nothing else in our tactic, how we've got it set up. And it kind of wastes this high work rate, but not that, So yeah, I think he's not quite there. This guy, just too low passing. Okay, right. Wasn't expecting to see something that's we could actually consider. So, what about this guy? So the ceiling is okay for that age. At 3 whole sets of training we supplied, 40 overall isn't particularly good at all, but that's also why his wages are low. Yeah, I think we passed just because he's basically £1 million. If he was like 100k or something, we might just snap him up, to be honest. Just because we'd throw him in instead of basically... I'm sure he's just better than, for example, this guy. Yeah, he'd just be an upgrade on that guy. Probably even just better than, maybe, I don't know if there's a debate there all of a sudden. Maybe not, depends on factors, but and I'm pretty sure he's just better than this guy. And I'm pretty sure he's definitely better than that guy. So, yeah, but at £1 million, we'll just pass. I don't really want to pay £1 million on a youth player that we know will never really be good enough for the senior team. Right, too low tackling and goal scoring stuff. Too low tackling and passing and not good enough goal scoring stuff. I think just not overall. Like, a lot of this stuff is more where you'd expect to see at 16. Okay, this is more interesting. So we got passing and vision. We got probably enough speed and work rate. I don't know. We've got a decent amount of ceiling still at that age. Still got, what's that, 12 points? He's cheap. He's got pretty good finishing composure. I don't know. He's got decent aerial ability. Decently well rounded. Got a bit of pointless crossing for us for the box to box. But I don't know. He kind of just feels like the box to box midfielder to me. It's pretty close to... Downside with buying a player now, by the way, or depending on the player though, this is another factor to consider, is that their contracts last for the current season plus X more, and X depends on age. So if they're young, it's a bunch more depending on age, which is basically the younger they are, it's sort of one more contract. The contract is one more length. So if we buy this player now, we'll only get him for basically today and 2 more seasons. So it's almost like if you buy them on, we bought them at the beginning of next season, you get them for that season and 2 more. So it's sort of like 3 whole seasons. If we buy them now, it's almost like we only get them for 2. So it's like a whole season less contract length. That's kind of one thing to consider. But I think in particular, just because of this really low buy price, that could potentially be okay. What I'm eyeing off is basically him coming into instead of this guy. Very similar, right? Very, very similar players. This guy's better at tackling though, which isn't insignificant. Very similar wages. I don't know. The tackling though, it's not insignificant actually, that difference. Because what's the other guy got, like 50 something? Who was it? This guy? Yeah. 78 and 71 and 65 long shots, 53, 56. So he's just better passing, better vision, better long shots, better finishing composure. He's a much better goal scorer and a better passer. He's a bit slower though, I think, and not as good in the air. And not as good at tackling. So I'm trying to put all of this into perspective. I think, I mean, he's younger or whatever, but we're not going to use contract extensions on this guy. That's obvious. So it really would just be for next season and the season after, and that's kind of the deal we've got, so to speak, with the other guy we've got anyway. So the age in that, through that lens, doesn't really matter. I think they have... Was it the same wages? Same wages. I think we pass. I think we're going to pass on this guy. I don't know, because there is that gap. He could get quite a bit better. He could. So there is another difference here, sorry. So that other difference is in 2 seasons' time, the guy that we've got might not be worth much more than we paid for him. I can't even remember what we paid for him, to be honest. But this guy potentially could be worth a couple million or more. Who knows? He could be worth quite a bit. So I think because we would just probably start him every match. He's got 72 determination. And then the reality is that we only got 2 central midfielders anyway before this guy comes in. So we need one anyway. Even if we bought him, we're not just going to insta-sell this other guy anyway. So we could just buy him. It's not a very expensive mistake, to be honest, if we... Alright, let's just keep looking for now. But we could just buy this guy, honestly. I think it's not... He'd be on the bench, he'd come on most games. He doesn't have particularly high endurance and natural fitness anyway. He could start. We need the depth. We need a player anyway. So let's just keep looking in case there's a better one. Right, so he's... just doesn't have the passing for us, but very interesting otherwise. Just really fast, good tackling, good finishing. It's weird, like for the box to box, conceptually that's pretty good, except for us. I think the passing is important. Again, high determination. Too old. Too old. Too old. Not good enough. Don't use left winger. Don't use left winger. Don't use left winger, but he does have 80 speed at 22 years old. So I'm just thinking about, that's rare, so let's just mull it over for a minute. He also has 77 determination. Seemed particularly good. I was just checking if it was at a club, someone was picking the training options all this time to get to that 80 speed, or if it just happened randomly. Yeah, I think not. There's not enough there for us to work with to add any position that we use. I don't think. It's interesting because he has have well, let's put it another way. It's only going to be a wide midfielder role, so ML or MR. He does have the passing, which we care a lot about. And he does have, whilst the finishing composure isn't great, it is pretty good compared to... He could, but I think we'll just pass because, we've got other players we want to add positions to. He's 2.3 million. It's just, there's a lot we want. If he was already at ML or MR, maybe... Especially if he was already ML or MR and was way cheaper, we might look to get him maybe. But it's just such a huge investment for a player that's not that good. This guy, I don't use AML. Right, 17 years old. Right, so... okay, so right. Ugh. So, I mean, the first thing I suppose is that it is probably not quite this good, but you could get... It is possible that we could get an academy trial graduate that's not much worse than this. What's possible, I guess, if you took all these attributes and minus like 3 off of each of them, something like that, that's possible. Not likely though. Not likely. If you took all of these attributes to minus more like 5 or 6 off of them, then that's reasonable. So that's the question. So is 2 whole seasons of training boosts worth what is effectively somewhere between 3 and 6 attribute points to across the board here? Maybe. Maybe. Let's go check specific attributes. Let's check speed. So that's been going up. Let's check strength. That's been going up. Let's check, what else do we care about here? We're going to care about the passing. It's been going up. We're going to care about long shots. It's been going up. We're going to care about control. Going up. We're going to care about dribbling. That's flat. Finishing. That went up. Composure. Did it go up by 1? Yeah. Determination went up. Flair went up. Vision went up. Movement went up. Aerial ability went up. Endurance went up. Natural fitness went up. Strength went up. Can we check aerial ability? So the only one that didn't was it dribbling? Right. But everything else did. Now the dribbling is 60. Alright, so I'll tell you what I'm thinking here. So I'm thinking the strength is too low. That's what I'm thinking when I look at this guy. And then outside of that, not much else is wrong, to be honest. If this strength was like 50, I think we just buy this guy. But outside of that, let's keep going. So outside of that, though, I'm also concerned with the control and the composure. Ideally, they would be high. But that's the thing. Like, at 17 years old, there is a chance that we get these things to where they need to be. Not the strength, though. That's the problem. Not if we want that to genuinely be high. But I don't know. Do you get to tick all the boxes? Like, how much is this guy? 61. Wasn't 67. We'd just buy him if it was 67. It was 680. He's just such, like, if you compare him, for example, to this guy. Like, this guy's 20. The other guy's 17. And the other guy's just basically just straight up better than this guy. Pretty much. He would just play every match. He would develop well. What was his determination high? Yeah, 54. I don't know. I think we're just going to buy this guy. It is a bit of a price to pay for whatever, but his also would at the moment would be the backup AMC for the senior team. I think he's better than this guy. Maybe not. But might be after some training boosts. And could be, I suppose, if we wanted him to be. We could sell that guy, and then he would be better than him per se. I think he's got guys that better, the second best in our team or whatever. If we sold the other guy, but I don't know. I kind of feel like we could get this guy. Let's just keep going for now. Right. Oh. Yeah, very interesting, but just too old. And right wingers, right strikers, too slow. Just stuff, just not quite good enough. Again, just not quite good enough. we have got inbound graduate striker, so we're basically these type of guys we need to compare to him, and they're just not as good as him. Just not quite good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. Bit old on our timeline, but sort of nice, quite well rounded in a lot of the stuff that you care about. But a bit old for us, so we'll just pass. And high wages compared that, like the well rounding results in those wages, he'd be pretty good. He'd score loads of goals in the division we're at. We're just we're happy with the strikers we got, and they fit our timeline better. Too old and too old. So honestly, I think out of all of these players, there were a few that was mulling over. So it was this AMC. There was this, surprising after not really finding anybody for ages. There was this MC as well, and was there a DMC as well? This DMC. And thing is, these are not very expensive mistakes. Like, if we buy this guy and then sell him, and the reason for selling him is basically, I suppose, because we found a better guy. The fact that you've got the better guy, you sell this guy, you lose what is ultimately going to be like 55k here or something, plus the wages, 55, 60, 70, 80k. But then you ended up with a better guy. It just doesn't feel that bad, to be honest. It doesn't feel that bad. And then there was this DC here. I think the DC, though, he's the most intriguing, but I think we just pass because we got another DC. We got ad striker. I don't know. Because we got a whole bunch of DCs already. That's one problem. And we don't need a DC or striker for the youth team. That's one problem. Another problem is we've already got a graduate coming in that we have to add a position to. Yeah, very intriguing though. Right. So there were these other three guys. I'm kind of tempted just to buy all three, to be honest. I think in order of... Right, let's just go in like the one that we probably would just get the most. I think this guy would just get the most. We need the MC. He fits what we're looking for. He's really, really cheap. Yeah, the wages are there a bit, but that's part and parcel of having an MC that ticks all your boxes, because he's going to naturally be well-rounded. So the wages are a little bit there, but I don't know. I kind of just feel like it's just a bargain price, and he just ticks boxes for us. Let's just grab him. Right, and then the AMC, I think... We're just going to grab this guy as well, I reckon. It is 2 months of training boosts. Like, let's... I don't know. It's a hard one. Because, like, realistically... he's not probably going to be good enough for the very... Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. It's hard. Like, at the end of the day, we're just going to need some players for our youth team, and it's going to be unlikely we're going to get a better suited AMC than this guy. So it's done. We're just calling it. And then this guy as well. I think we just want to move our youth team towards playing the same tactics. So this guy, again, not perfect or whatever, but as far as a deep line playmaker, blah blah blah, like, we're unlikely to pick up better than this guy anytime soon either. So we are just straight away, bang, 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 bye, bye, bye. We're basically now just committed to transitioning our youth squad into our senior tactic. But, interestingly, now the other thing it does is allow us, when we get bids for our youth, well, it doesn't matter now because we'll get 6 graduates, so we'll be very filled out. But if we had have got these guys yesterday, then we could have sold some of these other players that we have bids for. Right, so this guy just comes straight in. This other guy will just come straight in. But whatever, we'll work it out after, because we're going to have players go up and a bunch of trialists come in and whatnot. So, yeah. Alright, well, that was probably the most eventful transfer market activity. We have had, I think, I don't know, the last time we bought 3 was that day 1 of this journey. Let's have a look. Transfers in. So we did buy. Alright, so we bought 1, 2, 3, 4. On day 1 we bought a bunch, but then on day 2 we bought 3. Day 3 we bought 2. And since then, yeah. Not only is 3 the most we've bought since day 2, but it was also the only players we'd bought in the past 8 days. So we had got super picky, right? And then I think a lot of it was with those youth. Sorry, one other thing we should clarify about these youth players while we just grab them is because their contracts would be the same, so to speak, the same length. So we're talking about this other player. His contract is effectively like 3 seasons, including this one. But with those younger players, it's like X seasons, including this one. And X, if they're 1 year older, which they will be next season, will be 1 less. So if we buy them on the last day now versus, let's say, first day of the season tomorrow, if we could buy that same player who was 1 year older, the end date on the contract is the same, basically, because it gets pushed out by 1 season for each season they're younger. So in the case where you're buying players that are younger, I think it's 21 years age or younger. We should be able to check that just here if we sort by age. Yeah, so if you look, all the 21 and younger, they're like October, November. They're longer, right? But then all the ones that are 22 and older, they're all September. So basically, these 21-year-olds, we buy them now. Their contract ends in October. Tomorrow they would become 22, but it would also be next month, and then basically it would still be October when they're 22, if it was next month. So that's one reason. If you're looking for players towards the end of the month, then 21 or younger, different consideration. It's fine, so to speak, on the contract length. So all right, awesome. The most challenging daily roundup in ages when taking into account the bids and the scouting pool. So thanks for watching, and see you next season.